which team has yet to fire a coach, do you think? Or do you think the 8 vacancies that we have now in the Browns, Jets, Broncos, Bengals, Dolphins, Packers, Cardinals, and Bucks are going to be the only ones? What do you think?
I mean, my sense right now, the other ones we were keeping an eye on, of course, there's like some low-level buzz on the Vikings. I think Mike Zimmer's safe there. Carolina, Ron Rivera's safe there. The Jaguars, of course, there's been some talk that there could be some change at different levels of the organization now, but the guys in charge are going to stick around there. I really still think, Rich, the one name to watch, the one name to continue to watch is John Harbaugh. There were lots of teams that have been sort of doing their research over the last couple of months that were gearing up for a run at John Harbaugh. And I just look at the landscape and some of the names out there, and I don't think these teams are going to quit on the idea of going after John Harbaugh whenever the Ravens are out of the playoffs.
What?
And so,
how's that possible, Albert?
Now, here's the thing, Rich, okay? Like, what you want to watch here is, does he sign an extension or does he not sign an extension? Because things haven't been perfect for John there the last couple of years. And so, does he want more control? How does he want things set up under the new general manager, Eric Acosta? This is going to be a different organization than it was under Ozzie Newsome for all of those years. And so, I think that there are some things that need to get right there before John decides, I'm going to go forward with this and sign an extension. And one thing that obviously exacerbates all of this is the fact that he knows he'd have options in other places. And so I'm not saying anything's going to happen. I think ownership loves John Harbaugh,
right?
And wants John Harbaugh back as the coach. What I would tell you is that, John Harbaugh does have a hammer here, in that there's only 1 year left on his contract, and he knows there's interest out there. And so what I will tell you is that there are teams that are closely monitoring what's going on, and teams like the Jets, like the Dolphins, like the Buccaneers, like the Broncos that, had planned to make a run or take a hard look at bringing John Harbaugh in as their next head coach, who I don't think are quite ready to give up on the idea of it yet.
Well, I mean, that we'd have to be talking multiple firsts, right? We'd have to be talking like a Gruden to Tampa Bay situation, Albert, right? Wouldn't
we? We have seen anything like this before. And, I think you got to give Steve Bisciotti some credit here, too, in handling this the way that he's handled it over the last month, because, my understanding is he sort of took a look at this, and I think about 7 weeks ago, we were driving towards a, potential mutual parting of ways. And I think Steve Bisciotti, definitely got wind of the fact that there were lots of teams that were sort of circling around his head coach. And I think he looked out there at the landscape and what's out there, as far as head coaching candidates, and says, well, wait a second, like, this isn't a great market for head coaches to begin with. And I'm going to let my guy go and be the number one candidate out there. That doesn't make any sense at all, And so I think Steve Bisciotti deserves some credit for kind of reining this thing back in. And, I mean, look, John's done a great job over the last 2 months of the year, reconfiguring the offense around Lamar Jackson and putting them in a position to make a playoff run. And so I think the question here is really going to be whether or not, the Ravens can get John Harbaugh an extension whenever the season's over. And if they can't get him signed to extension, I would expect that there would be some teams, and a lot of this depends on timing, of course. If the Ravens are out this weekend, and that's different than the Ravens being out 3 weeks from now.
Of course.
But, if the timing lines up, I could certainly see if John decides to balk at the idea of signing an extension there, where you're going to have some other suitors lining up with draft picks saying, what's it going to take for us to get John Harbaugh out of Baltimore?
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.